right, welcome back to the show. Today, I'm talking with a branding expert, and we're diving into the top three gaps between a six-figure brand and a seven-figure brand. I want you to meet Heather Schaefer. She's a branding expert with 30 years experience building profitable, impactful brands for well over 100 small businesses by now. She serves determined female founders, gotta love that, who are already at or aspiring to be at six or seven figures so that they can make that big impact in the world. Her gift of left brain, right brain allows Heather to think strategically and creatively to build and design a cohesive brand that not only stands out in the sea of sameness, but stands alone as the only option in her client's industry. Powerful stuff. Heather is a success coach with eWomen Network. She's an expert trainer for Small Business Owners Collective. She's a speaker, published author, and you can find her on all those social channels. Let's say hello to Heather. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, this is going to be a great conversation because we're going deep. All right, so let's start with making sure everybody is on the same page. Can you define what a brand is for us? Because any
Mm,
number of people can define it so many different ways. Help us get on the same page.
that is perfect. That's a great way to start. And you're right, Judy. There are so many people out there using this brand buzzword. Everyone is talking about it, everyone is saying it, and it gets really confusing. And what I want to really identify in here is that your brand is the emotional aspect of your business, your brand, what you offer. So it creates the emotion and the impression that you want people to then take action. So it is that emotional component where oftentimes business owners will lump in brand with marketing, and marketing is actually a unique part of your business. Marketing is going to be the implementation. It's how you put your message out there, whether it's website or social media or blogs, whatever that is. It's the method by which you share that emotional aspect that we just talked about with your brand. So that's really the big differentiator is branding is the emotional aspect. It causes people to take action, where marketing is that implementation piece that you need in your business. You need both of them, and they do work together, but they operate differently.
That's so good. And I think the emotional with the words, as well as the visuals, as well as the whole shebang, right? That is
Definitely.
so important. Okay, so let's talk about strategy.
Mm.
Because to your point, a lot of people say they're brand experts, and sometimes all they do is know how to create a logo.
Mhm.
or they might, I'm a copywriter, but I'm a brand specialist. So help us understand what a brand strategy really consists of.
Yeah. So the brand strategy is, and you're right, it's kind of like the lines can get fuzzy, I feel like, out there, but really, in my mind, they're very clear. There is a clear line. Your brand strategy should have all of the parameters and the guidelines around that emotional component that we just talked about. So it's really the brand strategy protects. It kind of like puts your brand in this bubble where your messaging, your voice, how you sound, what it looks like, all of that goes into the marketing, or I'm sorry, the brand strategy, so that it's really clear. It's almost like painting that first picture is, what does that look like? These are the colors in your picture, and this is what it feels like, and this is the emotion, and this is what it sounds like. That is really the description with your brand. So that is going to drive a marketing strategy, but the brand strategy really is that compass for your brand that needs to happen first.
So good. Okay. So I want to dive in a little bit deeper to the difference between brand and marketing. Because what I find from working with clients, even at the multi six figure level, is that they think, well, my brand is fine. I just have to work on my marketing.
Mm.
And I know because we work together that you feel the same. So can you speak to that a little bit? Like how is it that the brand is the undergirding of the marketing and that you need to start there first?
Yeah. Well, I guess I like to think in pictures. I do have that creative side of my brain. And so I guess I would think of it as, think if you're going to go on a cruise, you're going to go on a trip, okay? And you're going to get on that cruise and you're going to know exactly where you're going, right? Like you wouldn't hop on a cruise ship and be like, I wonder where we're going. I wonder what it's going to look like. Gosh, I sure hope I packed the right clothes on this trip. No. So your brand strategy, it's that compass that I mentioned. It's that roadmap to take you to where you want to go so that you know exactly what to pack, what the weather's going to be like, what it's going to be like on the other side. And when you don't have that brand strategy and that really clear direction, you can get off course really quickly. And that is why, and where I should say, so many people, business owners, female founders, can make the mistakes in just chasing after what is trending or what they think they should do with the marketing. And so then it's like they start making these little shifts and these little shifts, and all of a sudden they're like way off course. And so your brand is the compass. It directs the marketing. Your brand is directly attached to where the marketing is going to take you. So when you're not following a brand strategy, it's really easy to just, like I was comparing, that you would hop on a cruise ship and not know where you're going if you don't have a strategy.
Yeah,
So
because
is that a good analogy? I feel like that I just think that way in pictures.
yeah, that's so good because it's like that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, okay, up north where you live, I'm gonna need a winter coat soon. Not so much, right? So that's so good. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk about these three gaps between a
Mhm.
six-figure brand and a seven-figure brand. Like what are those gaps? Let's find out.
Yeah, that is good. So, the the foundation of any brand still is the same. I use a signature 5-step method for that, and it is still the same. However, there are some deeper levels that happen when you're digging into really heading for seven figures and you're just getting laser focused on your direction. And the first gap that starts to be very apparent and noticeable from going from a six-figure brand to a seven-figure is the values and the strategy. Is that when the values are not really narrowed in quite enough, they just need to go deeper. They need to go to that deeper level because I find that, and this is why I love working with female founders, is because you know what? Female founders, women are ready to go there. They're ready to go at that deeper level. And so oftentimes when I'm working with my clients in some of these discovery processes, we really go deep, and I will keep asking more and more and more questions that take us deeper into the water so that we're not just swimming up on the surface, because that's what you do when you first start your business and when you're at six figures, you're just swimming up on the surface. You know what? You're just trying to get ahead a little bit. Well, you know what? By the time you're at seven figures, you figured out some things. And now it's time to really get clear and let your audience be really clear on your values, your mission, your purpose, who you're talking to, and just really honing in on that on a much deeper level.
Mhm. Can you give us a client example to really paint the picture? Maybe a recent client success story or experience. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the projects that I was just working on with a client, we were doing a refresh. She's been in business for 10 years. She's been very successful in her business, and she was just feeling like her brand was just getting really flat. The messaging wasn't resonating anymore. The marketing wasn't quite doing it, and she's like, something is just missing. Like there's just this hole in the boat, and I don't know what it is. And so we really went very deep, not only on our discovery call and discovery process with her, but we also dove deeper into her clients, the clients that had worked with her. And we started to really extract and get words and phrases and things that they were feeling that my client had no idea.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, there was a phrase that kind of came out of the whole process that she just stopped when she heard me say it because I was recounting this information, this discovery process, and she just started crying. She got a little emotional because she was like, that's exactly it. Like, that is what I want to be about. And,
Yeah.
that's the part where, and I start to get goosebumps when I think about this because one of the things that I ask all of my clients, no matter what income level they're at, but I feel like that seven-figure income earner can go so much deeper, is that how your brand is really getting to those value points of how you want to be remembered, like on a
Mm.
much deeper level.
Mm.
I mean, and I think about that even from the sense of like, and when I say how you want to be remembered, like at the end of your days, at the end of everything, what is that phrase? What is that description of you and your brand that you want people to remember above everything else? We
Wow.
can't take this stuff with us, right? But
Wow.
boy, oh boy, when you can leave that kind of legacy, and that's what really started to make the difference is in her values. We got really, really honed in deeper than we had ever gone before in her 10 years of business. And it is making all the difference in the world because now it's not just an idea. She knows because she knows in her knower that
Yeah.
this is what her people are resonating with. And it's so aligned with her. She just is over the moon about
Yeah.
how the marketing, because now the marketing, she's not going to be wasted money, you know? And so, really having that has made all the difference in
Mm.
her
Yeah,
brain.
I see that. I see that. I can imagine where it's like when you touch on a nuance, whether it's a phrase or a concept of like, yeah, this is what she's about, that makes the marketing more effective. You're going to draw in more of the very right people. And so you're going to draw them in and everything that flows from that. And so this is yet another example as I'm thinking this through, Heather. This is another example of like the brand is the root of your marketing.
Mm.
Until you have the brand, the more dialed in your brand is, the easier your marketing is going to be, which makes it easier to sign more clients. It's so good. Okay, values are huge. And so anybody listening out there that thinks I got some core values, I got a mission, until you have this fleshed out,
Mm.
like I know you said before we started, you actually do focus groups. Like you talk to the clients and draw out some of this most powerful information. Okay, so that's the first gap, values.
Mhm.
Okay, what's the next one?
The next one is the individualized brand strategy. So it's really individualizing. So, there are going to be a lot of people out there that are just going to type things into a computer and they're just going to spit out a generic strategy of some sort. And they're not going to be as individualized for you and for your brand. And so when you are at that getting to that seven figures, you really need to be individualized. I mean, think of the big brands that you might know out there, Nike or, any of those big brands. It's very individualized for that brand. It's not a blanket statement that you can just spread out and just, oh, this works. You have to really get clear on that individualized strategy, and that really makes the
Sorry
difference.
to interrupt, but I just was thinking, you know what? Nobody can steal a seven-figure brand because it is so individualized. Like
Yes.
nobody else could use the swish, not just because it's trademarked, but even because there's a whole thing behind it. Oh, this is so good.
Right,
Now,
right. And the thing with that is that you have to remember is that when you're at seven figures, you're at the place where nobody else can duplicate what you're doing, right? Only you can do it. And so that's where individualized comes in. Only you can do it. I mean, a brand doesn't stay at a high level brand if they fall through on their promises. And
mm,
so you've got to continually and consistently follow through on your promises. And when you're at that seven figures or looking right into the eyes of the seven figures, you're doing that on a consistent and regular basis. And so you've built up that that rhythm that nobody else can do what you're doing.
mm.
Nobody else. And like you said, Judy, nobody else can take that from you. It's very individualized.
Right. And they can't replicate it at all. So good. And again, ladies, if you're like, ooh, this is going over my head, I kind of want to say good because I know that, you know, me and many other, um, seven figure or near seven figure brands, we take it for granted that we know what's
Mm.
involved. But I know from working with Heather that there's a lot that we thought we knew that we didn't know. Okay, so the first gap was values. Second gap is individualized strategy. What's our third gap?
The next one is the personalized benefits ladder. And so, really getting into what is it in that distinction where it's different than what anyone else does. And so, these might start to seem like I mean, and they are, they're very integrated when I'm talking about the values, the individual, and the personalized. But remember, this is just going at a much deeper level. And so, with this, P level, the personalized, you're really getting personalized not only for yourself on what you deliver, but personalized with your audience. You're making that emotional connection. You are really clear about who you're talking to. You're talking to a very specific person, and you're creating this personal relationship almost because you're creating this emotion in them, and it's just this reciprocation. So, personalized is where the next big gap is that you'll really, once you can close these gaps that I've mentioned, you're going to notice your brand getting so much stronger and producing so much more momentum and therefore revenue.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's going to be amazing.
Let's talk about another example of
Mhm.
one that I know about. That I was just blown away when I listened to. Okay, hold on, I just have to say this. When I listened to a conversation that Heather had with a would-be client, and you're probably getting no doubt. I don't know if she already said yes or if that's coming up, but here's what I know. You blew her away on the call. You blew me away on the call. I was evaluating this for Heather. And so what you did on that call, can you even help us to understand what happened on the call? Because what happened on the call blew me away because you drew out of, you knew the right questions to ask. And you pulled out, like you, anyway, I'm just going on. You pulled out a most comprehensive, cohesive
Mhm.
something out of nothing in a matter of minutes. So, can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so, and this is something that when I get in my zone, I don't even really realize it, right? Like God just gives me this download. And so we were talking through, and she was telling me, I was asking her about her business. She was telling me the different components she was working on. And she was basically describing it very factually. I mean, it was, well, I've got classes and we do glass and, they break glass and, all of this. And what started to happen, and I just kind of pulled it all together because I was like, it's not that you just do glass. You you help people who break glass, who have broken lives. It's therapy. It's this therapy where you put glass pieces that have been broken, you put them together, you fuse them together so there's no sharp edges, there's no beginning and there's no end. And it's this beautiful picture of somebody healing through the process because that's really what so much, especially in art, can be. I mean, think of all the places that we use art that heals. And so I just drew from that. There's a whole lot of other reasons why I drew from art. I have a very artistic and creative background in my family, and it just kind of came to me about these broken edges and pieces. And she just kind of looked at me, and I could tell she just got really emotional. Her eyes were watering up, and she had never really thought of it. She's like, yeah, that's exactly what I do.
Ah,
But we had gone from this place where she was telling me about like the facts and the figures and the list of things, but it started to create this emotional element that she never realized. And so now when she starts to look at her website, it's very boring, and there's no, right now currently, until we've started her project together, there's no emotional connection. And that's what I was really able to help her see, is that emotional piece. And that, honestly, Judy, like that's the big gap that somebody who's at 5 and 6 figures is not seeing. is that
Sure.
emotional piece and how that really comes together to create that whole brand feel.
Yeah. Her company was not just a storefront with whatever she did in the back with the glass, which I didn't really totally understand. All of a sudden, it so resonated with her. And imagine when you're talking about the healing and arts, and it's going to draw in so many more people
Mm,
than just, oh, it's just going to an art thing at night. It's just a whole different thing. So
whole
it was,
different thing.
yeah, it was
And
actually,
she didn't see that coming. Like she didn't even, sometimes, and I think that's the thing that I want to convey here too, is that sometimes we're so close to something. Like we're so close. We just can't see any further than this far. And so bringing in a brand strategy expert like myself to come in and open that up a little bit wider, a lot wider in many cases, it that's what makes the big impact is you're getting out of yourself and you're able to see through another lens that you didn't see. And so that's what's stopping you right now from getting to those seven figures is seeing deeper
yes, it's that nuance that you don't know until you know.
until you know. Right.
You need an
Exactly.
expert to draw it out. All right. So we're going to end with um how AI could
Mm,
ruin your brand. But first, I want to just ask you a couple questions
okay.
about our working together. You're
Mm,
inside Miraculous, the mastermind,
mm,
and I would just love to talk just for a couple of minutes about that. Would that be all right?
yeah.
Okay. So talk to me about how you found me and the problems you were having before we started working together.
Yeah, so I was referred to you. It was actually a friend invited me to the event you just had, the Joyful Business Live. And that's how I heard about you. And I started listening to your podcast and kind of checking you out a little bit because I was already kind of shopping for a new business coach. I had had a business coach before and I'd kind of just been doing some group things for a little bit. So I was already kind of shopping and kind of interviewing from a distance different Christian business coaches. And so that's how I learned about you and kind of started like I said, just getting to know a little bit more about your feel and how you do things. And then I attended one of your offers challenges to kind of get a little deeper dive. And I really loved that. I loved and this is how I work with my clients too, like roll up your sleeves and dig in and start doing because we can do a lot of webinars and a lot of things and you just learn at a very surface level. But Judy, you just really deliver on how like we get it done. And I'm one of those people too. We just get it done.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of the start of the journey. And really in this short time, it feels like a long time because I feel like we've done so much. That I gosh, there's so many things. Judy, you've just really pushed me a lot further on how on my offer and drilling it down and how I am communicating that and the messaging that I'm putting out there to my clients. So, um, I just really love and appreciate the pushing and the going deeper and the challenging. And I know a couple of times we've talked on different calls where I've been like, I hate this, but I like this.
You'll love. And it's hard, but yet it's not because you know that it's going somewhere and it's producing.
Right.
Okay?
And I've used that a couple of times when I've sat down to do some of the workbooks and do some of the hard work that you're challenging me to do. I've sat down and be like, ugh, I can't do this. And then I stop. I'm like, no, yes, you can do this. You have been equipped and God has called you to this purpose. You just have to dig in deeper. And so I really feel I'm being pushed at such a deeper level as a CEO than I was before. And I was ready for it. I needed somebody to kind of kick me in the pants a little bit
Yeah, yeah.
with love.
In love.
With
And so
love.
when you say go a little bit deeper, was it like let's talk about the offers. So you
Mm,
had some different offers.
yeah.
And in one particular offer, let's talk about the $15,000 offer. Can we, like, when you first came to me, I think you were pricing it at around 5K and it was so high level. Do you remember that?
I do. Yes. And one of the things that was so hard for me that I really kind of thought that my industry was unique. And so that's why I had to have all of these customized offers. And everything was customized. Every time I put together a proposal or got finished with a discovery call, I had to spend like a day and a half really like looking at this customized approach for this particular client. And it's exhausting, Judy. It's just really exhausting. But I thought from a creative standpoint, that's the way I just had to do it. That's the only way I had ever seen it. And what you really helped me to understand is that there is a system and a process that really is universal for everybody. And while it might look in terms of different for each client, it's still the same process.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to cut corners to do a really great job. And so, what I decided to do with this really great offer is offer what nobody else is offering. And I do the entire thing in 2 days. And that has been, I'm telling you, so much fun. Whenever I've said that to people, are like, you do what? I'm like, and I just love it. It's so fun for the creative part of me that just loves to dive in and really focus in an intensive and an in-depth way. And so it's a win-win-win because
Yeah.
they're getting, because here's the thing is that I realize my audience doesn't have time to wait around. Like they're ready yesterday. So anyway, really getting clear on that offer and how I could deliver at a really high level and create a system and a process with it is what helped me create the offer that you just mentioned.
So good. So good. And I'll never forget. Tell us briefly, real quick, about signing your first client, because I just love how you explained this to me, how it happened on the call.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, it was really interesting because she had been following me for quite a while, and she decided that it was time for her to have a new brand, and so she actually popped into my messages and wanted a link, wanted to set up a meeting. So we had a discovery call, and I walked through it all and with her in terms of what it would look like, and we asked a lot of questions. And, she said to me at one point, she said, I knew that when I was ready to do this, you were going to be the person to do this with me because
That's pretty awesome. Let's just say that.
I know.
That's pretty hot.
Yeah, and and what's so interesting about that, and this just so speaks to, not getting so worked up in your social media and your algorithms, because what she said to me, I didn't even see coming. She was like, I've been watching and following you about branding for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
For 6 years. And then, she just decided because my messaging got really clear all of a sudden, this switch changed and it just resonated with her on such a deeper level. And so we were going through the discovery call and she's like, well, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? When can we start? And so I told her the price, and you know what? And this was funny too, because I know we had gone through this little discussion where you were challenging to 15,000, and I was like, oh, I'm feeling like more like 10. I'm like, I'll just kind of like, I'll just sit at the 10K mark for a little while and then see how that goes. And as I was talking to her, I just felt like God, the Holy Spirit, and a little bit of Judy saying, saying, go for the number. And so I said it really confidently. I was like, this is the number. She was like, all right, when can you get me on your schedule?
Just like that. That's how it goes.
Yeah. So she was ready and she saw the value. And that was what I feel I got really clear on how I can communicate that value. I know the value, but I think what you've helped me to see is how to communicate that value to my audience so that it resonates with them.
So good. It's so good because I think we've only been working together officially for like 2 months. So imagine 10 more months of further finessing and nuancing and, I don't know, 10 more $15,000 clients or so, something like that. Okay. All right. So last question is this. For someone who is at Six and Multi Six and they're looking for a business coach, but I'll be honest, my mastermind ain't cheap.
Hmm.
So what would you tell her about why you would, well, I assume you're going to recommend, but why would you recommend?
The
How am I
mastermind?
different? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I think, well, first of all, and I know you say this too, Judy, like the mastermind isn't for everyone, but it's for that person who's ready to do the work, roll up the sleeves, and needs a little kick in the pants every now and then. I mean, because let's just be honest, like you don't really dance around it. You're going to be challenged. If you're looking at the mastermind with Judy, you are going to be challenged. If you think it's going to be easy, it's not going to be easy. And it is going to get you to the next place in your business. I've already seen it. I mean, I've already had a couple of my big offer clients. And when I think about what I've invested with Judy already, it's definitely paid for. And to be able to get, and the thing is too, not just from the financial standpoint and making the income and getting to my goal that I have for, as I head into the next year, but also like for my own peace of mind. It's given me the confidence in my offer and my talents and my gifts and the peace of mind of yes, like I can do this. I'm called to do this. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so both of those two components are huge for me.
I mean, yeah, you've made your money back already. Imagine what the next 10 months is going to be. I can't wait to see if you're like a 10x or more. It's going to be so good. All right. So let's talk briefly how to avoid ruining
Mm.
your brand in this AI age.
Another hot topic, right? Because it's really easy to feel stumped on what to say and go right to AI for the quick answer. Now, there's a place for it. It's certainly a helpful tool to be able to use. I'm not going to say don't use it. But when you are looking to really double down, 10x, go to that seven-figure brand that we've been talking about here today, you need to be unique and not be swimming with all the other fish. And so that's really what AI does, right? Every time we type in a question, more and more people are typing in, they're putting their fish in the pond too. And so everyone's fish are all looking the same. And so then when you come in and you start typing in your question and it sounds like what somebody else did, then they just spit back out the same answer. So you got a lot of fish looking exactly the same. And
Mm.
so to have a seven-figure brand and really identify that gap and not just look like everyone else, you can't lean on 100% AI to create and build and speak your brand and the messaging. It's a great place to start for some ideas, for some lists of things. But please, 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 if you take anything from this, don't just 100% lean on AI to create and build your brand because God gave you a special gift in your brain and artificial intelligence can't duplicate that. So you have a unique gift. You have something unique that nobody else can offer, and artificial intelligence cannot pull that out.
Right, right. I love it because brand at the end of the day is emotive and AI ain't got no emotions. So we'll end that. All right. So
There we
you
go. Mic drop on that one, right?
so you have an amazing freebie. It's the seven-figure brand quiz. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So if you are at six figures, multiple six figures, you are staring it straight in the eyes of seven figures, or you're already at seven figures, and you're ready to go deep, but you just don't know where to start. Maybe you've heard some things here today and you just don't know which of that VIP method is the gap for you. Well, my seven-figure brand quiz is going to identify the hole in your boat. So it's going to be able to tell you that where that certain gap is so that you can clearly fill that gap and take your next best steps so that you can have that compass and that roadmap with a really clear direction to head exactly where you want to go.
Mm.
So that is what that 7-figure brand quiz is going to do. It's going to identify the gap, again, identify the hole in your boat, and give you that compass to lead towards your best direction.
So good. I will drop that link in the show notes. So now, as we're wrapping up, if someone's like, I'm taking the quiz, but where can I connect with you? Where's the best place, Heather?
Yeah. So any of the social media channels, you can find me at Branding You Big, Heather Schaefer HQ. Those, and I know she'll put the handles in there, so you can connect with me on social media. My website is a great place, and I'm happy to answer questions and just give you a little bit more direction so that you know exactly what your compass direction should head towards.
Yeah,
So
so good. So good. That quiz is a must take.
for
I
sure.
looked at it. It's fantastic. Listen, Heather, thank you so much for sharing all of your expertise today. Minds are blown, no doubt.
Thanks for having me, Judy. It was so fun.
All right, ladies,
Okay.
thank you for listening. And listen, if you have not yet left a review, please do it right now. And reach out to me at Judy Weber Co. and let me know amazing people you would like to see and or topics that we haven't covered because I'm here for you. All right, sisters, see you next time. Thanks.